Got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the Green Bay Packers. This is your Week 15, 2024 prediction and preview video. Hit subscribe if you're new. Also, hit the like button. Let's start with the home team. The Seattle Seahawks, they have won their last 4 games, and they're starting to play complimentary football on the offensive end. And I want to start off with the Seattle Seahawks. Last week was a very good week. They defeated their division rival for the second time this season. They swept the Arizona Cardinals. They won this game 30-18. Geno Smith, 24 of 30 on the day, 233 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and the most important stat, 0 interceptions and 0 sacks on the day. This offensive line played clean, and a lot of it is because Abraham Lucas is back at the right tackle position. All season long, the Seattle Seahawks have been able to throw the football across the field over and over again to key weapons like Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett, and DK Metcalf. And this game against the Green Bay Packers, you still want to run the football. Now, that's going to be hard to do because the Green Bay Packers have a top rushing defense in the NFL. With that being said, you have 2 running backs that can take over. Zach Charbonnet last week had to fill in for Kenneth Walker III. He is still dealing with a calf injury. He was not able to play last week, and he's questionable for this game. If Kenneth Walker III is able to play, that's amazing. If not, you still have Zach Charbonnet. And last week, he did have a run that went for 51 rushing yards, and that went for a rushing touchdown. But he still had 2 rushing touchdowns for 134 rushing yards on the day. He averaged 6 yards a carry. You also had McIntosh, 38 rushing yards. He averaged 5 yards a carry against the Arizona Cardinals. A solid rushing defense when they go against division opponents. Against the Green Bay Packers, stay consistent with the run game. Even if the running backs are going out there now only averaging 2 to 3 yards a carry, that's okay. Run the football and help out Geno Smith. A lot of times this season, they had Geno Smith throw the football over 40 times in the game. That's not going to get it done in this matchup against the Green Bay Packers, even though their defense is banged up right now with Jair Alexander being questionable for this game. You don't want to go out there and have Geno Smith throw the football around the field. Now, you'll be more comfortable in this situation because the offensive line is healthier in the last 3 games than it has ever been for this entire season because Abraham Lucas has missed a good portion of this season, still dealing with a knee injury that he suffered last season. But when you look at Abraham Lucas and Charles Cross, those are going to be the big names to look out for. We all know about Geno Smith, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba. I believe if you give Geno Smith enough time in the pocket, he's going to slice and dice your defense. He can get the football to Jackson Smith-Njigba, who has been phenomenal all season long, by the way. He's been the best wide receiver with the Seattle Seahawks. Last week, 82 receiving yards, 1 receiving touchdown. And Zach Charbonnet also did damage in the receiving game, 59 receiving yards. And that's the thing about the Seattle Seahawks offense this season. They get their running backs involved in the pass game. It's similar to what Tom Brady did with the New England Patriots for so many years. They would dink and dunk their way down the field. So a 3-yard catch is essentially a 3-yard run. You put the football in the running back's hand, he is still a running back. He can make plays after the catch, and that's one thing the Seattle Seahawks have to do in this matchup against the Green Bay Packers. You have to go out there and break tackles and get yards after the catch. One thing that DK Metcalf and Jackson Smith-Njigba and Kenneth Walker III are all great at doing. But this is the problem. The Green Bay Packers are very good at making tackles at the point of attack. Even if they don't tackle you for a loss, they'll wait for another guy to come over and they'll gang tackle you. So in this situation, get the football out quick and you can take those deep shots down the field, especially if Jair Alexander is not able to play. Even if he is able to play, right now he's dealing with a knee injury. He hasn't been able to play over the last few weeks. You can still take those deep shots down the field to Jackson Smith-Njigba and to Tyler Lockett. This is an offense right now. They're playing very well. They're playing complementary football by running the football with Kenneth Walker III and Zach Charbonnet, and also now making life easy on Geno Smith. But it's going to come down to offensive line protection. When they have given Geno Smith enough time in the pocket, he can go out there, he can deliver some sweet passes. But when he's dealing with pressure, he looks like a complete nightmare on the field because of the interceptions. Not only has Jordan Love dealt with an interception problem this season, so has Geno Smith. But Geno Smith has also been a very good quarterback against pressure at the same time. 14 passing touchdowns to 12 interceptions. I know those are bad numbers, but they're leading their division right now. And he's second in passing yards, 3,474 passing yards on the season. I'm telling you, they pass the football a lot with this team. But over the last 4 games, they're running the football. The offensive line protection looks better. That's going to be the key to victory in this matchup with the Green Bay Packers. If you can run the football, work off of play action, Geno Smith will be safer with the football. When I look at this defense, the defense has been my favorite unit personally. And I love their offense with Jackson Smith-Njigba and DK Metcalf. This defense has taken a complete 180. They were struggling to stop the run. That's been the same song and dance for the last 4 to 5 years with the Seattle Seahawks. They can't stop the run. They made a trade to bring in Ernest Jones over a month ago. This man has been very good. Now, he's not Roquan Smith or Patrick Queen, but this is a man that is fitting the system. He's doing everything right with Coach McDonald, who's been a defensive mastermind over the last 5 weeks. In this game against the Green Bay Packers, you want to stop the run and force Jordan Love to throw into tight windows and make him frustrated at the line of scrimmage. Leonard Williams has been one of the best defensive players in the NFL this month. This man had a great game against the Arizona Cardinals, not once, but twice. He had 2.5 sacks against Kyler Murray in the first encounter, and he had a lot of tackles for loss, and he was in his face all day. They're starting to double team him, but this is the problem. When teams go out there and they double team him, Derek Hall is coming off the edge. Yachan Nwosu, he's missed a good portion of this season dealing with an injury. He's a very good pass rusher. Just a couple of years ago, he had 9.5 sacks. And these are not your traditional pass rushers. Most pass rushers, they only care about going out there and pinning their ears back and getting to the quarterback. These edge rushers, they go out there and they set the edge. They stop running backs from getting the edge. And now you have your linebackers like Ernest Jones and Therese. They come over and they're just making tackles. And that's the biggest thing with the Seattle Seahawks this season and in the last 5 games. Their tackling is on point. And you're going against Josh Jacobs, one of the best running backs in the NFL. You can't let him get into open field against safeties and against cornerbacks. It's almost impossible to tackle him. And he has a lot of speed coming out of the backfield. You better ask the Detroit Lions how that went for them last week when he had 3 rushing touchdowns. This man is an engine to their offense, but they also have a franchise quarterback in Jordan Love. And if it's going to be a defensive guy that can go out there and slow down this offense, it will be Mike McDonald. Let's not forget this man went out there and helped lead the Baltimore Ravens to having the best defense in the NFL last season. For the first 8 games of the regular season of this season, the rushing defense with the Seattle Seahawks, they were in the bottom third of the NFL. Now they're rising to the middle of the pack. That's a huge difference between what happened for the first half of the season to the back half of the season. And they're catching fire right now. And it starts with Derek Hall up front, Leonard Williams, and Byron Murphy. Be on the lookout for him, the big rookie from Texas. This is a kid that's missed some time this season. But when he's been on the field, he's been an explosive playmaker off the edge and in the interior. And if they're playing him and Leonard Williams, it's almost impossible to run the football against this front. Make the Green Bay Packers one-dimensional, and you have 2 very good cornerbacks. Tariq Woolen has been one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL this season, and especially in man coverage. And you're going against a Packers offense right now. Romeo Doubs was not able to play last week. That's your go-to guy, especially against the blitz. And the one thing about Coach McDonald, he will go out there, and when he blitzes, it's going to hit home. And they put you into frustrating situations. You have Devin Witherspoon. They will send him in on the blitz. Look at what he did to Kyler Murray a few weeks ago. He came off the edge, made a phenomenal play, stopped him from rushing for a first down, and it led to a pick 6 to Kobe Bryant, who has been a very good safety this season, and the same with Julian Love. Don't sleep on the Seattle Seahawks. Yes, the Green Bay Packers are one of the best teams in the NFC, but look at the Seattle Seahawks. They have the firepower on the offensive end and on the defensive end to give the Packers a lot of problems. And I like the Seattle Seahawks in this matchup because they are the home team. With that being said, let's talk about the Green Bay Packers. Last week was a tough week for the Packers. They did everything right against the Detroit Lions and they still lost. They lost this game 34-31. Jordan Love on the day was 12 of 20, 206 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 0 interceptions. In the first half, he only had 3 completions. You have to be better in this matchup. And I did not get to speak on this last week. It was a lot of flags that were not called in favor of the Green Bay Packers. You can't go out there and have offensive pass interference and a guy helmet is coming off. And I'm talking about the St. Brown play. The referees have to be better in this matchup for the Packers. But they still lost. The Detroit Lions took care of business last week. But in the first half, Jordan Love wasn't able to do much. He came out slow. In this matchup, get him into a rhythm. And I'm worried about this offensive line, even though this offensive line is very good. I'm worried about this offensive line because you're going against 2 big bodies up front, and Byron Murphy and Leonard Williams. They can push the pocket, and Jordan Love, he throws off that back foot. It can be special. It can also go for an interception. This is a man that's had a problem throwing interceptions this season. And I understand that he played a few games. He was dealing with an injury. But Jordan Love in the past has also dealt with turnovers. But when he's not dealing with those turnovers, he's a special quarterback. The offensive line is going to play a huge factor in this matchup. Josh Jacobs, he's going to come out and ball. I'm not worried about him in this matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. This is a man just a few years ago when he was with the Las Vegas Raiders, had a beautiful game against the Seattle Seahawks in Seattle. 3 rushing touchdowns last week, only 66 rushing yards. But sometimes it's not about going out there and having over 100 rushing yards. Can you go out there and score? And in my opinion, touchdowns weigh more than yardage. Because if you get into a situation where it's 4th and 1, Josh Jacobs can move the pile. He can go out there. He can get you 2 to 3 yards at that time, especially in the goal line situation. But Jordan Love has to step up in this matchup. Tone down the interceptions, run this offense through Josh Jacobs, and work off a play action and slide the offensive line. One thing Coach LaFleur did not do last week was gain leverage against the Detroit Lions defense. It's going to be hard as hell to gain leverage against the defense of the Seattle Seahawks. And when I mean gain leverage, run a lot of motion plays. Have the defense going left and you go right. The problem is this. You have a lot of athletic linebackers with the Seattle Seahawks, but it's also a cheat code with the Detroit Lions. Big Tucker Kraft, who has been very good all season long. Last week, he only had 41 receiving yards off of 3 catches, 1 receiving touchdown. They should have fed him more. This man's a matchup nightmare going across the middle of the field, and he can work in between the seams in terms of going deep down the field. Now, I would not send him deep down the field on a consistent basis. Most teams don't do that with tight ends, and that's pretty stupid to do so because tight ends are more so to go out there and run, block, and get you short yardage in those situations. But Tucker Kraft has the speed to go out there and get you an 85-yard touchdown. Look at what he did against the Los Angeles Rams. This is a very special tight end. Use him more. And if Romeo Doubs not able to play, make him priority. You also had a huge play last week by Christian Watson that went for 59 receiving yards on that one play. On the day, he had 114 receiving yards. This is a man, he makes all the hard catches. But when it comes to the easy catches, he will drop the football. He has to be more consistent in this matchup. And last week, he had a solid matchup. You have Dontavian Wicks, 49 receiving yards also. Romeo Doubs, in my opinion, is their true number 1. I understand Jayden Reed is a very good player, but Jayden Reed last week, 0 catches, 0 receiving yards. When I look at Romeo Doubs, that's the go-to guy on third down situations besides Tucker Kraft. That's the go-to guy in certain blitz formations because Jordan Love trusts him more and because he's able to get open a little bit more than Jayden Reed. All of these wide receivers are good in their own right, but they bring something different to the table. Christian Watson is really just a matchup nightmare on the outside because of how big, fast, and strong he is on the outside. He's a deep threat. Romeo Doubs is a do-it-all guy, can go deep down the field, can catch the football into any immediate routes, and that's they're hurting right now. They're struggling to beat man coverage within 10 to 15 yards out. You're going to have to find a way to go out there and work on the cornerbacks with the Seattle Seahawks. I wouldn't test the cornerbacks much in this matchup because of how good Tariq Woolen has been and how good Devin Witherspoon is. But I'll also look out for Devin Witherspoon. This is a man that's a do-it-all cornerback, and I've seen Coach LaFleur take advantage of cornerbacks like this before. Devin Witherspoon is a wild player. He'll come off the edge. He'll try to blitz the quarterback. He'll try to go out there and make tackles on the running back. If you force the Seattle Seahawks to send a blitz to the opposite side and they can do a flip screen to the right, that's why you have to gain leverage. If you can do that and you just have a bunch of lead blockers in front of Josh Jacobs or a guy like Jayden Reed, they can go for a huge gain. That could put you into field goal range. It's about eating up the field in huge doses, but also in small doses. And that's the one thing with Jordan Love. Every play doesn't have to be a huge splash play. In the first half last week, he was trying to go out there and fit the football into tight situations. You can't do that every single play. Just take what the defense gives you. I know it can be frustrating. If you're in a 4th and 1 situation, have faith in your offense. Go with a QB sneak. In my opinion, I would go with a toss play. The Seattle Seahawks have been very good against the run in between the tackles because of Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy. Killing them from sideline to sideline can work, but at the same time, they do have Ernest Jones. But like I mentioned before, you have Josh Jacobs. You didn't bring this man into free agency for nothing. This is a man that's a top running back for a reason. Feature him in short yardage situations and make sure that Jordan Love is comfortable and try to gain leverage with different motion patterns. Something Coach LaFleur has done a great job of in the past, especially this season. Just was not able to do it last week against the Detroit Lions, which was still a very close football game. When I look at the defense for the Green Bay Packers, you have to create pressure here. And I'm looking at Lucas Van Ness. I'm looking at Rashawn Gary. You want to make Geno Smith uncomfortable. You want to make sure that you can go out there and put a lot of pressure on him off the edge. Geno Smith, in between the tackles, he's a weird quarterback. He is used to disarray in front of him. He'll just step up into pressure, or he'll just run to the right side. Especially now with Abraham Lucas being back. I would send more blitzes up through the middle of the field to try to block his vision. And usually when teams have done that, they have been very successful. The New York Giants did that. Even though they blocked the field goal and it went for some points, they still won that game by replicating that type of defensive scheme. And we've seen the San Francisco 49ers in the past give them a lot of problems because they can generate pressure up front. I'm looking at Rashawn Gary. I'm looking at Lucas Van Ness. And I'm looking at the linebackers in general. The front seven would dictate this game for the Green Bay Packers. I have a lot of faith in their secondary, even though they have not played up to the T in the last few weeks. But a lot of that is because Jair Alexander has been out dealing with a knee injury. And that really sucks because he is a special cornerback to have. He's easily still the best cornerback with the Green Bay Packers. Hopefully he can play in this matchup. He's listed as questionable. If he's going to be able to play, you can stick him on DK Metcalf. He does a very good job with bigger wide receivers because he's able to get into their chest. He's trying to pin them down. And if he isn't able to go out there and stay with them hip to hip, they have big Xavier McKinney up top, who has 7 interceptions on the season, who has been phenomenal all season long. But the front seven would dictate this game for the Green Bay Packers. Now, I'm not talking about just stopping the run, putting pressure on Geno Smith. For whatever reason, they have Lucas Van Ness, they have Rashawn Gary, they have Kenny Clark. They're not able to get to the quarterback on a consistent basis. And it's very frustrating to see, especially if you are a Green Bay Packers fan. But at the same time, when they have been able to get home and they've been able to go back there and disrupt the quarterback, this has been a very scary defense to go against. And I look at this offensive line with the Seattle Seahawks. They have Charles Cross, they have Abraham Lucas, 2 very good tackles. But at the same time, I look at Lucas Van Ness, only 3 sacks on the season. Still a very good football player. I look at Rashawn Gary, very good pass rusher, and Kenny Clark is still one of the best interior run stoppers in the NFL. Stop the run and make the Green Bay Packers one-dimensional. And the reason why I love the secondary with the Green Bay Packers, even though they have given up a lot of yardage over the last few weeks without Jair Alexander, they still have Xavier McKinney. He's going to put the football right back into the hands of Jordan Love. So force Geno Smith to throw deep down the field and make him test Xavier McKinney. That may be crazy to say, but Xavier McKinney has been so awesome this season. I'll rather live with that than for them to dink and dunk their way down the field and try to run the football with their running backs. And please watch out for Jackson Smith and the Jigba. That's going to be the biggest wide receiver to look out for besides DK Metcalf on the outside. Jackson Smith, the Jigba, is able to work across the middle of the field. And this is the thing with the Green Bay Packers. They have not been able to stop those intermediate routes over the last few weeks. Look at what happened last week against Tim Patrick, especially in the red zone situations. They could not go out there and they could not stop him. And that's one of those guys you look at on the Detroit Lions, you'll think that St. Brown or Sam Laporta gave him damage there. It was actually Tim Patrick. And I look at a guy like Jackson Smith, the Jigba. He can give you a lot of problems because of his route running ability. But I do like what Coach Jeff has been able to do this season. He's a former coach at Boston College. He's a brand new defensive coordinator with the Packers. This is a pivotal game for both teams. With that being said, I do believe the Seattle Seahawks will walk away with the win. I have the Seattle Seahawks winning this game 34-28. But let me know in the comment section below, who do you have winning this game? The Seattle Seahawks or the Green Bay Packers? If you're new to the channel, hit the subscribe button. If you like the video, hit the like button. Most importantly, want each and every last one of you guys stay safe, stay positive. Thanks for the video, guys. God bless. Peace.